You might be saying, what the heck is a ManyChat Public API? Well, it's a very powerful program that allows you to either get data from ManyChat or send data in to ManyChat. And I'm going to show you how to use it now.
Fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number.
All right, let's get started. We're going to talk about the ManyChat Public API. With the Public API, the difference between the Public API and the dynamic content block external request is that you can send data back into ManyChat and Messenger without initiating the call from ManyChat or the Messenger out. So with dynamic content block and external request, those are initiated within the ManyChat or within Messenger, and it's sent out to a server API or whatever, some API, and it comes back with the data. Or just sends data out, posts it. Whereas the public API allows you to send things in without the initiation of the process from ManyChat. So it could be many different things. It could be something where in ActiveCampaign, you're doing something and it triggers a process, something that you updated. Now you want to inform them in Messenger. Kind of could be like a shipping system where you're ordering a product and it's being shipped and you want to get notified when it's shipped. So now, as long as you have the user ID, you need the user ID to send it back in to that specific person. As long as you have that stored, say like in ActiveCampaign or in a Google spreadsheet, whatever you have, you can use that now to send the data back in. So we're going to look at some examples. We're going to start off the real basic side of it. We're going to go to settings. And so within your ManyChat dashboard, go to settings, which is down here on the left, and go all the way over to the right along the top here, and it says API. Within the API, there is you need to create a token. And I already have my token here, and you basically, you could refresh the token, you could delete the token, those types of things. Mine's hidden here. And then there's a couple links over here on the right, and we're going to go into those and do some playing around. So the first one here, the second one here is the article. And we're going to go through some of the stuff that's in this article. And so then you can reference this video and look at this. And this is generally kind of the things that we're going to kind of go through, how you get your token, kind of going through that, the API. So it's a general process on how you get some of the IDs and how do you get your subscriber ID, how do you get a flow ID that you're going to use, those types of things. So that is that part of it. We're going to go back. We're going to go to Swagger. And in Swagger, here you can actually test the API. So you can do some testing on things. The first thing you have to do is you do have to authorize it and put your token in. Biggest thing is, remember, you have to put bearer. The beginning has to be bearer in order to get it to work. So you might type that in, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to copy your token and put that in right after a space and authorize. So now you're authorized to use this going back into ManyChat. And you have some options here. You can get tags. So this is on the page level. So if you're doing some development, you want to see all the tags that are out there and get their number, the ID, and all that stuff, you can do that. So we could do that right now because we already put our token in. So we could just try it out, and then you execute. And so for that token and that page, it's going to go out and get all the tags. So here's your response body, and it has all the tags, the ID for the tag, and actually what it's called, the name. So there's all the tags that I have associated with that. Now, we could go in and custom fields, same thing. We're just going to run try, execute, and now it's going to list all the custom fields, their name, the type, custom field, and any description that you have on it. So those are all that. Let's see. So that's the page. Some of the things I'm going to request is I'm hoping that we could get the growth tools that are part of the page, those types of things, so you can kind of use those for things. Sending, what we can send in as far as a message, and that's one of the things we're going to look at today. You need a subscriber ID. So if you went to test this, and the data format right here is going to be this. And so I'm going to click that link, and it's the dynamic content block. It's basically the reference of how the JSON needs to look going back in to ManyChat. Still at version 2, hasn't changed for a couple months now. And you have to follow that to fill in the data part of it here. And then the subscriber number, as this shows you, if you go into a subscriber, where are we going here? There we go. Go to a subscriber and you can get the ID is right there under the picture. So you can get their ID. If you want to just test some things, test it against yourself, you can do that. And let's see. And then send a flow. What you need to do is get the flow _NS, and that again is in this document here. It shows you how to get that. To grab the flow _NS, you go into the flow and you can grab this content, this number here. So you could use that, and you put that in here, and then the subscriber, and it'll send that flow to that subscriber. So it's kind of a neat situation. Like I said at the beginning, is you're going to have some outside trigger that's going to trigger an event. Something kind of like, if you've been using Zapier, there's a trigger that happens, and then there's an action. So that's what happened here, is a trigger on an external system. And as long as you have the subscriber user ID, you can do like this. You can send some content. You can send them to a flow, depending on what happens. And then we have some that'll get the subscriber information, so you could get all the information that's associated with them. I believe it only gives you like the last growth tool, stuff like that, the last input text field. So it gives you all the information on that subscriber. So let's try, I'm going to try this. Need to get my ID. I'm going to go out here, go here, grab my ID, and I'll put it in there, execute. We should get all the stuff. There's my name, profile picture, so they have a URL for the profile picture if you want to use that. Last chat URL, last input, and then all my custom fields that are associated to me, and all the tags that are associated, and that's it. I don't know if it has a growth tool. I was looking for the growth tool, and it doesn't give you the growth tool that you have, that you use. It would be nice to get the growth tools that you've opted in through. That could be important in doing something. So you get that. You can find by custom field, so you could use this. Let's see, by a custom field and a value, you could do that. Add a tag. That's how you can add a tag, remove a tag, set a custom field. So it's pretty neat. A lot of powerful things that you can do within here. So now what I would suggest is play around with it. First get your token set up. You can follow this tutorial here that ManyChat has put together. It's pretty basic, so you can kind of follow with the video some things that way. And then you would go to Swagger and test some things out and play around with it. Any data that you're sending, you have to follow this format. All right, so what I'm going to show you the example of using FB sending send content. And we're going to test this here. And then I do have an API server program that I'm going to send the same thing back. And so I am going to open that program up. This project here that we're going to go through in a little bit. I'm just going to do this. So I'm going to go and show you on the send content how to test this. So we're going to try this out. And what you're going to do is you're going to set this up. I already have it set up here in, let's see, let's make sure that one's that one, that one's that one. So I'm going to take this up to here. We're going to put it in here. Now I don't have, just going to copy that in again. Make it a little bit more readable than what they had. Why does that keep doing that? All right. There. Bring that in. Bring this in. And this. And I'm just going to leave those out there. I'm going to substitute if we go in and get my ID right here. Because what normally you'd do is you'd pass it in to the program to execute that. And then I substitute that. This I don't have, so I'm just going to take this out for now. When we do it in the program, we'll have the actual field, the dream. And so now I should be able to execute this. So successful. And if we go, let's go to messenger.com. And it should come up here. Hey, Jeff, here's your dream. So by testing this, we set this up just like the example when we came in here. It said subscriber ID. Let me see if I can do that again here. Settings, API. If I go to Swagger again. And some content. So there it is subscriber ID is 0 and data is in the curly brackets, the JSON. So if we look at what we put in here, we have a subscriber ID, and then we took basically this information. So this is the format that you have to put the response in. We put that right in here. Close that one. Put that right in here. And then we tested it. And then we could see that it sent us this information. So it's awesome. It's working. So you can do tests. So you can sit there and formulate the test in Swagger to test any one of these options here, the APIs. and get it to, actually in this case, we're sending them some content to me as a subscriber, and it came into Messenger. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a server API where I'm going to show you how to code it in there and in a more of a real life situation. And so what I did is I created a little program to send content. And so that is this one right here. We're going to send content. We need to have it in this structure. So if you look at the way I have it structured, is I do have subscriber ID and data. So we'll go over this a little bit and how to set that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to display a web page. And let's get Messenger up here. To display a web page. And so that's going to be my trigger. I'm going to have, and I've actually was testing it here, and I was having undefined until I got the field over into my program. So we're going to test this. I'm just going to run this. Oop. Let's try that again. And what I'm doing is, what you would have to do for this situation is, let's say you're calling this from ManyChat. What I did is I'm passing my user ID in because I need my user ID. I remember when we were talking earlier, let's say you have something trigger in ActiveCampaign. Now, if you're storing the user ID there, you wouldn't have to pass it, and you're going to have easy access right back into Messenger by sending one of these, this kind of thing, like say content structure in, posting a request to post that JSON back into Messenger. So let me go back here. So now I displayed this web page. So this example is kind of like, let's say we had a web page that came up, and or it was a web view within Messenger. And so you have it coded so that a web page comes up and you're going to ask them to do something. And you want to pass that information back in to Messenger. So I'm going to say a dream is wash dishes, a dream of the future. Let's see. Travel around the country. Well, that's going to be a dream. I'm going to submit it, travel around the country. And now what's happened is, hey, Jeff, here's your dream, travel around the country. So I was able to send it back in. What happened on this web page? Whoops, where did we go here? Right here. What happened on this web page? I was able to send in what they typed in. And how I did that is initially, here is what we fired off to begin with. That's this right here. The endpoint /send. And so that's what we fired off. And then what I did is I was passing the user ID in as a query string. And what I did is I stuffed it in the header of the display of that page, of this page. So it's in the header data. I stored the ID in the header data so that I could use it later. And I did that by having an options parameter going with the send file. So once we look at the HTML, what I did is I added a script or a function in script, a JavaScript function, to get that value and then call an endpoint within my server program to send that back. So what I did here is upon on click of the button, so when I click this button, it's going to fire off send response function. And it send off the function here. And then what I did is I went and got the ID, actually the element, the value from here. So I went to the document and actually the form. And where do we go here? The form to get the ID of the form of the document so that I could actually access the elements in that form. And there was only one element basically where I was entering. So then I got the dream text. And then I set up an XML HTTP request to send over, and actually I could run a post on here versus a get. And what I was doing is calling an endpoint that I've described as a function here in my server program. And what I did is a post to that, and I passed in the user ID that got passed into the screen, and then the text, the dream text that I had. And then on this side, I brought it in as query strings, and then I set up a post to the ManyChat API. And that's what's going to be right here. I think they reference it and tell you. It's going to be this one. What I'm trying to find is where they're telling you in here. Because I believe it's always going to be https://api.manychat.com FB send content. So what we have to do is you have to match up that last part. Oh, there it is right there. So it's always going to be this part here all the time. And then the remaining part of the endpoint will be this part of it. Right there or there or there, whatever you're trying to do. And then based on that, what you got to do is you got to get the values put together and obviously set up the header. And so we'll look at that right now. So there's the endpoints. I'm going to do a post. Here's the headers I'm setting up. And these headers need to be set up so that it understands what you want in the request or what you're sending as far as JSON. And so you're setting up content as being application JSON. You're also sending an authorization in the header, and that's your token. And what you're going to do is you're going to store your token. I'm storing my token in here in the environment file as a secret because I don't want people to see it. And so you're going to store it in there and then reference it here and pass it in the header. And then the request form is actually the data that we're sending, this right here. So I'm sending a text and just saying, hey, Jeff, here is your dream. And we can see that right here. So it's all working. And then here's a request, and then it closes the request. So that is it. That is how the public API, one is how it's set up, but two is how you can use it. And there's many different ways you can use it. It definitely is very powerful. It allows you to not have the initiation from ManyChat to actually send something out and have something come back in. It can be based on, like I said, if somebody ordered something and you want to update them on the shipping status, you could do that. Any type of thing like that, you can send stuff in. Something gets updated, a field gets updated on ActiveCampaign, you can send something in. So they're always really cool stuff that you can do. So if you have any questions, let me know. Well, that concludes our video for today on the ManyChat API. We covered an overview of what is possible by using the API, how you get your token, and doing some testing in Swagger to see how things operate. And then we looked at one example of how you could send some data back in to ManyChat using the public API process. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Happy to answer them. And as always, please like the video, share it across the world, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Besides that, click the little bell so you do get notification when I do upload a new video. Down in the description, I do have a link to a great course, ManyChat Toolbox. It does teach you about dynamic content, external requests, and soon enough, I'll be adding some chapters on the public API. So stay tuned for that. As always, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.